Hey everyone, and welcome to the Transgender Show. It is great to be back with you. I'm your host, Emily, and I am just so happy. I'm just so happy. It's been over a month since we've had an episode of this show. It's great to be back. Let's get into things here. I'm going to bring in my guest, Jess. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here and for being my first guest on the show since our little bit of a hiatus. We've been off for about a month and a half. So,
Yeah,
not only is it great to be back, it's great to finally have you on. We
yeah.
have been chatting via text in an Instagram chat for probably about two
What
years now, but
seems
this is
like
our
forever now,
yeah,
yeah.
this is our first time actually meeting. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, all good. It's nice to finally talk to you face to face as well. So, yeah.
So starting off, when did you first realize you were transgender? And then after that, as a follow-up, what sort of things were you able to trace back once you realized that you're transgender that were the breadcrumbs that this was where you would end up?
Oh, it's such a broad question, that one, and I like it and I hate it at the same time because
Fair.
I knew something was different about me when I was really young, like you know, 6, 7, 8 years old. I definitely knew things were very astray during my teenage years, and I think that's when things started really being a struggle for me for such a long time. I didn't, I didn't actually start my transition journey as such until I was in my early 30s, and I guess it was just for a lack of my own education at that point was what held me back for so long. But I knew a long time ago that I was different. I was supposed to be a girl. I am a girl, but I was born in that wrong body, and my body was developing wrong for so long, and especially through those teenage years. Um, yeah, but I guess once the penny dropped and I started actually doing something about it, would have been early 30s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was there sort of a build up to that? Once you got to that point and you realized that you were
Yep.
trans, you had this definition, you sort of had the education and had applied it to
Yep.
yourself. Was there a period of time where you had to adjust to that and learn to accept that, or were you ready for it at that time and just ready to get started on whatever your journey would be?
There was a little bit of adjustment period, but at the same time, I was sort of working through with my psychologist, just generally talking about my life and where I was sort of struggling and all these sorts of things. And that's when, like, part of that was when we hit the, the gender penny on the head, I suppose. And and yeah, we just sort of discussed it even more, went into a bit more further depth with it, and like I'm quite I guess quite open to my psychologist. She knows everything about me, and we were able to put two and two together pretty well. And she sort of got me referred to some other specialists in the area who helped me with hormones and all that sort of stuff. So you know, she's kind of been the cornerstone of all of it for me.
And how did you approach that? What were some of the ways that you approach that with your therapist of like what steps that you were going to take, what was right for you, what were you afraid of at that point?
Yep. I guess it was just a matter of, because she kind of had to go through a little bit of education with me as well, because we kind of like it's, dealing with trans patients wasn't her specialty, um, but she wanted to help me as a human being, which there's like I have to applaud her for that, because you know not I hear stories that doesn't always happen. Um, but yeah, so she went off and did her own little research to help find some people that might help her help me.
Mhm.
I went off to do my own research to find my endocrinologist for my hormone therapy, looking at surgery options for the bit later down the track and all those sorts of things. And yeah, we sort of set off, did our own little bits of homework, came back together, put it all together, and had what we'd loosely call a plan.
Now, I know with my therapist, it was sort of the same thing where she wasn't specialized in helping trans folks, and there was a
Yep.
little bit of a learning process for her.
Hmm.
Um, she did have another, I think she had another trans patient or somebody else that she was helping.
Yep.
But there were some pitfalls, there were some pluses and minuses to it. Did you notice anything,
Yep.
kind of looking back on those early days that were sort of better or worse that you could talk about, things that could have made the process better for you?
I mean, I think I really lucked out. I was really lucky with her because she was the first person to say she didn't know how to move forward instantly. Like, she was the first person to say, I need to take this and find out a bit more so I can help you better. Um, I think from my point of view, the only thing I probably could have done differently, which might have either A, sped up, or B, given me a better outcome, which, not going to lie, I'm very happy with the outcomes that I've received and that I've got, is probably just going to a more, like, maybe a more transcentric therapist, just to sort of guide me through those steps for myself.
Mhm.
But that, yeah, again, that's just me. I think my general therapist, she did a wonderful job, and, like, yeah, I don't regret any of it.
Well, that's wonderful. Like I said, there were just a couple things with mine. Early on, not just some of her questions were sort of pushback. They felt like pushback in a way. Um,
All right, yeah.
those. Um, one of the questions she asked is, why not pink men's clothes? Why not wear floral men's clothes and things like that? Why are you,
Right.
sort of obsessed with cross dressing and especially pink, obviously. Um, and it was just one of those things that for me at that time, not understanding yet that I was trans, and trying to kind of get my feet under me with all this stuff, it was really difficult and sort of kind of put up a little bit of a barrier of like, I don't know how to answer your question, but it sort of felt like it was questioning me, like who
Yeah.
I was. And so it just kind of made it harder for me to kind of accept and be open and all that.
Yeah, I don't feel like I got any pushback at the time. Me and my therapist have a very good back and forth between each other about, um, obviously we're trying to help me here, and that's why I'm doing the therapy.
Mhm.
But it's more about me asking myself these sorts of questions and finding, you know, she doesn't ask me the questions, she gets me to work out the questions, which I find really frustrating sometimes. But it is, it's all about self-discovery, and it's a very um, it's a very personal therapy for me, because she does make me think in ways that I wouldn't normally think. And, she pushes me to push myself, and that's about all I get. She never gave me any pushback about gender identity. The moment I said, hey, no more that name, you call me Jess now, she was on it. She's never dropped the ball once. Yeah, she's been really amazing. So
Mhm. And then how was your process? How did you approach the process of coming out? You had this therapist that was helping you with everything. Were they
yep,
very helpful with that?
she was. She gave me sort of, because at the time when I came out, I sort of wanted to do it in two stages. Um, the well, the first person I came out to was my ex-wife, um, and she's been amazing this whole time. She's been supportive, probably my greatest ally, my best friend. Um, but when I came out when it came to coming out to everybody else, I wanted to do it in two sort of major steps, which was my immediate family, and then general everyone else. Um, and for my immediate family, it was really tricky because um, there's four other people in my immediate family, and I have a sort of a broken relationship with three of those people. One of them, my sister, I'd spoken to her previously. about my gender identity. She was very accepting, very loving. My sister's amazing. But my mum, dad, and my brother, very sort of fractured relationships. So we sort of concocted this. I did it via a Facebook group message to them. I wrote this really long letter, basically saying to them that if it didn't sit well with them, that they were free to just leave me alone. But the initial coming out was pretty well received across the board. But my parents have still been quite supportive this whole way up to it. So yeah.
And then what was your next step after that?
Oh,
How did you approach the big group of friends?
So the big group of friends it was done via social media, simply because that's where I sort of have the most contact with my friends and family in general, and it just seemed simplest to do it that way. So again, I had a massive Facebook post, which actually I ended up changing to public because there was a few people who weren't on my Facebook who I've helped or spoken to later who wanted to see how I did it. And so I've made that post public, and I've shared it around a few times with a few people. So it's but again, it's quite long. It basically was just it just said to people, I've never really felt the same. Some people have always said I've been a bit quirky, and it just put a bit of explanation to people on why I was kind of the way I was, and where I was going to start moving my life towards now. So yeah, no, it was again quite well received, and I think I lost a handful of people, but they don't matter.
Now I know you're separated from your wife now.
Mm-hmm.
What was her level of acceptance, or how did you go about coming out to her, and what was her reaction? Let's start there.
Coming out to her was actually like it was the culmination of an argument, actually. It was like, why are you like this? Why are you like this argument? And eventually I said, this is why I'm like this. This is why. And then I ran off into the shower and hid. But she came back in and checked on me afterwards, after probably about 3 or 4 minutes, and it was probably one of the most like loving moments that we've ever had together. Like she was beautiful about it. She was amazing, accepting. She still is to this day. She's helped me with every single step of my transition, even though we haven't been together for many years. She's still right there with me all the way. And one of the best allies I could ever ask for.
That's wonderful. Did you all try to work it out together, or was it sort of a non-starter with her in maintaining the relationship after that point?
So when I came out to her, it was it actually helped our relationship, and our relationship got better for quite some time. Turns out my ex-wife is a lesbian, so it kind of just brought everything together for her on what attracted her to me, and all those sorts of things. And our relationship didn't end because of my transition. I think my transition might have helped maintain our relationship at a level that it still is today, as opposed to like things could have gone bad, and it wasn't the transition that caused any of it. It was just other factors that we just couldn't quite resolve. So yeah.
I love that concept that she didn't struggle with the fact that about her sexuality. It actually helped. It sounds like, and I'm going to try not to put too many words in your mouth, that it sort of
Yeah.
unlocked that for her. Did she know about that side of her before this?
Yeah, and look, when I met her long before we were even married, like she was, I wouldn't say openly bisexual, but she was quite open to the ideas of it, and had swung different ways and all that sort of stuff. So she's a very she's an open book when it comes to those sorts of things. So I think that helped me also with coming out to her and talking to her about how far I wanted to go, because she is so accepting and she is so open about these sorts of things. So it was just, yeah.
Well, it's just so interesting, and it's something that we've talked about on this show before. That
Hmm.
so many people struggle, so many partners struggle with it, and struggle with the implications of the sexuality and things like that.
Yep.
But one of the things that there is to sort of for them to dive into and to look into is they were attracted to a trans person, and there's something to that.
Correct.
That
Yeah.
might need to be explored by some of the people, because yeah, while your outward expression was a certain way, there's so much of
Yep.
you that doesn't change. It's your
Correct.
personality. You just change the outside package to match what your personality is. So I think that's very interesting. That
Exactly. And I think you're spot on. Like, there's, when we were together, she fell in love with me as a person, as a complete person, regardless of what the package was on the outside. Like, there was stuff on the outside and the inside that she liked. So um it's, yeah. It just is, it's funny.
were there things that you had done through your life, and like through the period where you were married, before
Hmm.
transition, of
Yep.
trying to fit into the masculine role, taking on masculine jobs, or sports activities or things to try and prove a masculine side of yourself?
No, for me, not really. And there was always this running joke in my family that my ex always wore the pants in our relationship. Like, she was always the more masculine one, even though she's not at all either. It was just, yeah. I didn't like the sports that I played. I was never interested in football or anything like that. The most masculine thing you'll get out of me is car racing. Um, I played badminton, which is the least masculine sport known to humankind. And yeah, like, there was no forced masculinity on my part. It just never happened.
What were some of the things that you struggled with the most through your transition?
Oh, I the reflection in the mirror, I think, is something that we all can sort of agree to. Like, you have this ideal in your head on where you want to be and where you want to see yourself, and it doesn't always match what you see in that mirror. And I guess that's something I've really struggled with, because I know in here there's, like, my heart, my soul, it says, Jess, you're a woman, you're a woman, deal with it. Women have all kinds of bodies, all kinds of body shapes. um, you know we're still women. um, but yeah, the mirror's nasty. Well, the interpretation of what my eyes see in the mirror is nasty. But otherwise, like, I mean, acceptance wise, I've been pretty good. um, I had the benefit of 2 years of lockdowns, to transition through a lot of, which was really nice. I guess a silver lining to all of that chaos that we went through. But yeah, I think just, I don't think I've really had too many struggles. Again, I think I mentioned to you before, like, I've had a really sort of, I've kind of lucked out. Like, everything's kind of come together in what I've wanted, really, really well. I've had a few minor struggles, like with some doctors just not being right for me, like, or just not getting the right doctor first time, and I've just had to shop around for doctors a little bit. But otherwise, nah, I've had a great support network, and yeah, just that damn reflection.
That was something that I've struggled with a lot, and I still do to some degree. And sorry
Mm,
everybody in chat, because I know I talk about this a lot, but um, being in full makeup and fully done up and looking in the mirror and seeing the male version, just
yeah,
seeing the dude in a dress kind of a thing. And yet
yeah,
other times, and that was a lot, especially really early on. And it still sort of happens here and there. But then on the flip side, at some point, there was a time where I would, unshaven, scraggly, and all that, 2 days worth of stubble, walk
yep.
past and look in the mirror and go, "Oh, it's Emily."
Yeah. I completely understand that. Like, and I have these, like, the walkway to my ensuite from my bedroom to my bathroom. There's these two sides of mirrors, and so I'm walking through a mirrored tunnel every time I go to my bathroom. And some days you look in that mirror, and like you said, you go, there she is, and you're happy. And it can be first thing in the morning, hairs everywhere, and it doesn't matter.
I just wish we had some greater insight into what causes that and why, how we can capture that more often and find that.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. I don't know. It would be pretty amazing if we can work out what the trigger is for that. What the trigger is for that moment of euphoria where you just go, that's actually me there. Like, that's me. you
Mhm.
know.
I didn't have to put in a ton of effort. I'm not all, all the stuff, and I'm still me.
And I'm me. Yes, exactly. If you find the secret, let me know because I'll buy it in bulk.
Okay. Coming soon to the Transverse Etsy store. Um, so at this point, I like to ask sort of an ethereal question, just to kind of
Okay.
like break it up a little bit and really put
Yep.
the challenge to you. What does
Oh god.
transition look like or mean to you on a deep level, or at least the
On a
gender journey? What does this all mean to you?
for me, my transition means to me is living true to myself and showing the outside world the true version of me that I've felt on the inside forever.
Mm.
Um, it's like, I mean, it's always going to be a work in progress. I can't deny that. That's just one of the things I'm going to have to live with and deal with, and that's something that I do live and deal with every day, as you would know. But being able to get to a point where I am now, where I can comfortably show the world who I am without, I don't have these panic attacks about going outside of the house anymore. I don't have freakouts about meeting up with people anymore. Like, I'm just who I am. I wake up who I am. I go to bed who I am. Yeah.
Well, and that kind of calls to mind one of the big things that told me that I was trans. That was how I
Hmm.
figured it out. Was the thing that scared me most in the world, that gave me that panic, was going out in public and being seen, being
Yeah.
caught, whatever. Um, and yet I had this strong drive to dress up and go out in public. And I'm like, I can't
Correct.
square those two. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why I'd be so compelled to do the thing that I'm most afraid of in the world. And
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense logically, does it? Like, it's really counterintuitive, but we I guess it just shows the strength of people like us, that we've overcome these sorts of fears, and we overcome them often.
mhm,
And I think it's a testament to trans people in general, or even just gender non-conforming people, or anybody who doesn't feel comfortable in their own skin. If they get up, smash that door down, and go outside and do the things that they are scared of doing every day, you know they're incredible people.
mhm. Have you
Yeah.
found, like a lot of us, that breaking down that wall, getting past that initial fear, has broken down other walls in your life and made other things that you were afraid of less of a big deal?
I think just, like, because like I follow like yourself on Instagram and many other people on Instagram, and I look up to every single one of you in my own little weird way. And like everyone I think's an inspiration to me in some regard. Like I have, I look at some of these trans athletes. They inspired me to keep going at my sport, which is badminton. And the what do you call it? The competition that I play in altered the rules to accommodate me and my gender, to just so I would fit the rule set as it was written. So they changed the rule set to make it fit me as opposed to the other way. So it's really lovely to see that some people do support stuff even in a generalized world that's not necessarily very supportive. So yeah. I get inspired everywhere. I don't know.
There are a lot of great people out there. I mean, like you said, it's pretty easy to be inspired by a lot of other people in the trans community just because of the sheer
Yes.
fact that we've overcome that fear and come out and are doing the things that we do, right?
It's a constant fight, and we're always fighting. And even if it's as simple as going to the shop, sometimes it's a fight. But people, we all do it, and it's amazing.
Do you feel that your goals have shifted as you've moved through your transition?
I think so. Yeah. I think, like, when I first started, I lost all this weight. Like before I started hormones, my biggest fear was putting on weight. So I ended up losing 30 kilograms, which I think in freedom units is about 70 something pounds. So it's quite a bit. It was quite a bit, or maybe 60 something pounds. I can't remember the math off my head. Sorry, but so I lost all this weight because I was so afraid of putting on weight, which I inevitably did once I started hormone therapy. But I'm at the point where it doesn't matter now, because the weight I know I've put on has gone to areas to make my body more ideal for me anyway. So except the tummy could go. I'd be happy with it.
Right? Yeah. I'm blaming mine mostly on COVID, or not COVID, but the pandemic. But yeah, not having
I
COVID,
mean,
just the COVID pandemic and being locked in this room for 3 years.
and Uber ordering carbs for so long.
So much
Yeah,
carb loading, that's for darn sure. The carbs are just so much easier to go get. You can
and they're
stock up on
delicious
carbs.
as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of my lunch this morning. I got home. I was hungry early. It was about 10:30. I'm like, I could do
Yep,
breakfast. I should do like oatmeal. I've got a couple things with like I've got different nuts, cashews and walnuts and stuff like that. Um,
yep.
or I'm pretty sure that salami is defrosted by now, and I could do salami, crackers, and cheese. And that's the route I went. And it's just like I
Perfect.
it was great, and I regretted it the whole time, and ever since.
It's still delicious though.
Yeah. Um,
Exactly.
so let's see. We talked about fears and
Hmm.
goals. In those moments when you feel that dysphoria, when you're kind of struggling to see yourself in the mirror, maybe you're just not feeling that great. Do you have any tricks that you pass on to others that we can share to knock yourself out of that, to find yourself and to feel good about your identity?
Yeah. I guess the way I've done it for so long, and the way I sort of have continued to do it, is my community kind of does it for me, or not for me, but with me. I've got a couple really close friends, and I'll go tell them, I'm feeling bad. I hate the way I look in the mirror. And these people will build me up to a point where that's all I'm hearing constantly until I get out of that moment.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, like, it's like having a reliance on friends, and it kind of is. But I mean, friends and support network is what keeps us I guess what keeps us really going. Like, you know, I don't think I could snap out of it on my own, to be completely honest. If I could, it might take a whole lot longer. Whereas with, those few close friends that I have, um, and they're not just sitting there just inflating my ego or anything like that. They're just being supportive people and encouraging me to look at yourself a bit differently, Jessica. You're being silly. Just sort of giving me a bit of a gentle slap out of it, a bit of a love tap, so to speak. But I have these really close friends to lean on for that reason, because they're my pillars. They're the people that really help me every day. It's with something. So yeah, no, I lean on friends a lot, and other community members if my friends aren't available or aren't able to help. Like, I've spoken to Rosa a few times about different things, or just any of the other people in our little awesome community that we have.
Have you had any hurdles in your transition, like medically or you know, financially, those sorts of things that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, I did have my bottom surgery mid last year, and I think in the lead up to that there was a few hurdles with finding the right doctors, because the surgeons that my sort of doctor team recommended that were in Melbourne here where I am, their bedside manner was that of a tree, and it really wasn't good, and they were only there just to do the job, and they looked at the WPATH standards and they followed it to an absolute T. There was no leeway, there was no anything, and I'm like, this is garbage. I'm like, why do I have to go do however much extra psych work? I've pumped out 3 kids. I've they're young teenagers now, basically, and like, why do I have to do this extra work just to prove to somebody that I don't want more children? I really don't want more children. I'm tired. I'm a tired parent. So, yeah, I think the biggest hurdle was just finding those right doctors for me. I ended up having to drive 12 hours to get to the right doctors, but we found them, and luckily, being in Australia, we do have a bit of we've got Medicare on our side for a good part of it. So financially, it wasn't a huge amount that I had to put forth for my surgery, which was really nice. And even hormone therapy, like, it's not affordable for everybody, unfortunately. It's not free, which, in our country kind of sucks, but it's getting better. And I speak to my endocrinologist about this quite a bit, and yeah, she's like, every year it'll hopefully become a little bit better each year. So yeah,
Was
I
there anything
think
you
finding
struggled?
the best doctors. Sorry,
Stepped all over you there, and then I coughed. Sorry.
that's
Um,
okay.
we talked about sort of external hurdles. Was there anything that you struggled with internally as far as kind of holding you back from progressing?
I've sort of asked myself this quite a bit, because I haven't worked it out and there was something, because ideally I could have opened up to this probably 7 or 8 years before I did, and started this journey 5 or 6 years earlier than I have, but I don't know why. Like, something's held me back. I haven't worked it out. Will I explore that? I don't know, because I'm here now and I don't really want to dwell too much on the past if I can help it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I find myself holding myself back again, I guess I'm pretty good at snapping myself out of that sort of mindset. Like with the surgery, again, for example, there was, someone asked, "Oh, are you going to get it?" And I'm like, I don't know, none of your business, whatever. But that just planted the seed. And then, a couple of weeks later, I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. And then I went and, got all my referrals together and had a look at pricing and started doctor hunting.
Is there anything that
Yeah.
you feel you've been able to accomplish because of your transition? Did that unlock anything particular for you?
I feel like I've become a better parent, a better, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm better at my job than I was, but I feel like I'm more attentive to my job than I was. I think just in life, things have just become a fair bit better. I can settle myself down a whole lot easier than what I used to be able to. And I think just from a holistic point of view, even like just life tumbles a whole lot nicer together, and it's all it just all came together a whole lot better. I think parenting though is probably one of the big things, and I think that's just because I'm no longer stuck in my own head anymore, and I'm no longer like a prisoner in my own head anymore. I'm free of all that. So yeah.
What would you say is your favorite thing that you've learned through your journey, either about yourself or the world around you?
Oh, I think for both myself and the world around me, I think I could say things are a whole lot brighter than they seem. Um, there is a lot of darkness, and there is a lot of there's a lot of hatred. Um, but if you can manage to distance yourself or to shield away from some of that stuff, things are quite things can be quite good. Things are better than they were, absolutely better.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's just my outlook on life is so much nicer now. Like even in like you might have seen some of my Insta posts. I have my moments. Like there's, you know, every week there's something that's going to bother me and it's going to upset me and I'm going to be dragged down by it. But there's also all these positives as well, that lift me back up and just bring me back into, that sort of, I guess, a bit more of self-happiness than there ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everything's a bit brighter, the short answer.
Well, isn't that really interesting? Because if you think about it on paper, you're going from being a privileged class, the cisgender white
Right.
male, like that's the
Yep.
kind of winning the lottery right there, and going
Yeah.
to a class that is being attacked across the world, and you would think that the outlook would be that it's so much worse now, and yet there's so much to be said for loving yourself and understanding yourself and being able to present and be yourself out in the world
Right.
that really does
Yeah.
make that a worthwhile journey, a worthwhile transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you just said, the understanding of yourself. Like I've spent years with my therapist just working on that understanding of myself and why am I thinking these things that I think, or why am I in the headspace that I'm in? Is it, is it external? And if it's external, what can I do to manage those, influences? Or if it's internal, how can I then manage those influences? So there's a whole lot to be said about just spending some time on learning who you are to yourself. Like, I think that's probably the greatest thing a person can do for themselves, is to actually really sit down and find out who they are and who they want to be and how they can love themselves better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, and it seems to kind of tie in with the next question pretty well. But maybe you'll have something else to say here.
Okay.
What what advice do you have to pass on to young or closeted trans folks out there?
Yeah, learn yourself. You can. I can't say it enough, because every time I find someone who's spent time to work on who they are as a person, be it, you know, emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever it is that they feel that they need to do to bring themselves a step closer to themselves, do that and never stop doing it. Like, you know, I say to my kids every day, go through each day, try and get one thing from every single day of your life, just one thing. Like, be it you read a page of a book that you've never read before, be it you read a whole book, be it you start learning a new skill, you make a new friend, try something new. Like, just constantly, I don't know, constantly just try and improve yourself for you, not for anyone else. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Do it for you. And that's probably the best advice I could ever offer anybody, not just trans people, just anybody. Just, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah.
Has coming out and understanding yourself and being trans helped you
Yep.
to get to that point of understanding?
I think so, but I don't think I don't think I don't think anyone could ever get to a point of truly understanding everything. Um, I'm a work in progress. Like, everyone is, you know, we're always learning, we're always changing, always evolving, and we have to, otherwise we get stuck. So, you know, if you know, if I hadn't kept learning, like if I'd got to a point where, you know, I'd done a heap of psych work with my psychologist and then said that'll do and didn't transition, I wouldn't be happy like I am. I wouldn't have improved my life as much as I have. So it's just, yeah, I don't think it's going to ever finish, but yeah, it's definitely helped. Yeah.
Well, Jess, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's been wonderful having you.
Thank you.